Everyone in the 1990s grew up with some of the best 4x4s of the United States since the 1990s. They all grew up with the Chevy Tahoe, the Chevrolet Suburban, the Chevrolet Blazer, the Ford Explorer. But then there was this one car that everyone still grew up to know and love in the modern age of 4x4 expeditions, and that is the Toyota Land Cruiser, specifically the 1997 Toyota Land Cruiser 80 Series VX model. Today we are diving into one of the best 4x4s that dominated the SUV legacy for decades. So let's talk about the Land Cruiser 80 series. The 80 series Land Cruiser first debuted in Japan in 1989 towards 1997, thus making it the ninth production year of Land Cruiser series. The Land Cruiser 80 series was second to the last great Toyota Land Cruiser models of the early 1990s. It first introduced us to the modern class type of as it was. The Toyota 80 series Land Cruiser mixes two trends: modern age and old school charm. The 80 series Land Cruiser VX was first produced between 1996 and 1997. It was imported to the US for the 1997 model 20 to 30 years later, thus making it a great opportunity for families and truck enthusiasts to love all around the world. So, when we talk about the 80 series, we gotta talk about its heart. Inside of the 80 series Land Cruiser lived the most capable truck engine ever produced. The 1HZ 4.5 turbocharged diesel, a massive straight 6-cylinder power plant that makes 180 horsepower at the crank. However, most people say that the straight 6 1HZ had two variants. One was a diesel and the other was gasoline. The one that was distributed to the US was a diesel variant, which only had 180 horsepower, but the gasoline model had another power figure that was way beyond 180. It was basically a 1HZ straight 6 cylinder that is basically 4.5 liters gasoline power plant, thus making it 195 horsepower. Although the 80 series Land Cruiser was known for having a truck-sized power plant, it didn't even matter where the 80 series would end up. It was basically the greatest off-roader that has ever existed on planet Earth. So let's talk about the 80 series Land Cruiser. The 80 series Land Cruiser is by far the best selling Toyota Land Cruiser. Although it took about 30 to almost 45 years, the 80 series Land Cruiser is the second to the greatest model of the Land Cruiser lineup, featuring four-wheel anti-lock brakes and pretty much coil suspension. While the Land Cruiser 80 series was known for its luxury and simplicity, the raw feeling behind the 80 series Land Cruiser is something special. The 80 series Land Cruiser is a trend of two great things. One is its old school charm, and the other was pure luxury. Lexus decided to make a Lexus version of the Land Cruiser 80 series, dubbing it as the Lexus 450, which is ironic because Lexus is the sibling company owned by Toyota, same with Daihatsu and Subaru. What most people understand about the 80 series Land Cruiser is that these trucks can survive almost the worst kinds of terrains that has ever been untraveled by most 4x4s of the era. About the 80 series Toyota Land Cruiser is that although the Land Cruiser 80 series is more of a luxury vehicle, most people can still understand what it was like. Owning an 80 series Land Cruiser wasn't just a myth, it was a prodigy, a pedigree in every single story off-road enthusiasts know. So what happened after 1989 and 1997? Well, the Toyota 80 series Land Cruiser was then replaced by the Land Cruiser 90 series, which is particularly the Land Cruiser Colorado between 1996 and 1997. Before the 80 series Land Cruiser ever finished its lineup, the Land Cruiser 80 series was still globally sold around the world, such as the Middle East, Australia, the United States, Mexico, and pretty much every other nation. The legacy of the Land Cruiser 80 series was not just because of its looks, it's how people still know to use it. The 80 series Land Cruiser is proof that you can't beat modern day technology with an old truck like this. The 80 series Land Cruiser is by far the greatest off-road truck that has proven against its rivals such as the Land Rover Discovery and the Jeep Wrangler. But why those two never competed one place at a time? Well, the Land Cruiser did. So how did the Land Cruiser place first among every other off-roader that had never tried doing the same thing? Well, the Land Cruiser 80 series was known for its simplicity, ruggedness, and off-road capabilities. The 80 series Land Cruiser is by far one of the coolest machines ever built by Toyota. The 80 series Land Cruiser came with a variety of engines, such as the 1FZ gasoline power plant, and by far the greatest 80 series engine to be placed inside of it is the 1HZ, a 4.5 liter straight 6 cylinder with 180 horsepower, specifically the diesel version. This 80 series was not just a prominent piece of machinery, it's the refined element of how off-road vehicles came to be before modern age took over. So, let me give you one simple place in the world. I owned an 80 series Land Cruiser. It's not the VX or the LX. It's a GXL 1997 model, and it was basically running in good condition, except it was basically old, and whoever the previous owner had it last certainly did not get the time to repair it, but I had to do it myself. Took it down to a local body shop somewhere near my area, and it basically took about almost 1 year. Well, actually, it was past 1 year and the whole month. And when I brought it back, it was basically a stock color and design. Very timeless, very sleek. At first glance, most newcomers who basically given up their old Chevrolet Blazers and Ford Broncos, they were basically new to the 80 series Land Cruiser. I was the new owner of the Land Cruiser 80 series, and it's been 5 years since I got that truck, and it ran perfectly fine. Although the performance was poor, but I managed to get it working just about right. In the end, the Toyota Land Cruiser 80 series dominated the SUV world that no other vehicle was able to complete. I mean, the Chevrolet Blazer was discontinued, the Chevrolet Tahoe, the Ford Bronco all got discontinued, but the 80 series, it lived. It lived a decade where modern day crossovers and hybrids were now dominating modern day culture, but then you just realize something else. The 80 series was far different. It was a contrast. But why? The 80 series Land Cruiser is not just a vehicle, it's the king of the road. The way how you just sit inside of it, it just feels like you're sitting up tall against everyone else. The 80 series was the true king of the road. Unlike most modern day culture vehicles. The design and nostalgia mixed with pure simplicity and luxury, the 80 Series Land Cruiser was basically an experience to know and love. And thanks to that, I get to appreciate my 80 Series Land Cruiser. The 80 Series Land Cruiser was a true king of the roads. It towers over every other small car that I have ever seen. It makes you feel dominant. It makes you feel like you're home to every other place that you have ever been on. The 80 series traveled across multi levels of ground surface and never died, never left. It never faded into history. It became history and evolution. The evolutionary story of the 80 series Land Cruiser still resonates with truck enthusiasts who must drive it off road. Except for most people who are basically new, they just knew how to know the 80 series, they have seen the vehicle, but then when they finally get their hands and ready to use it, it just makes you feel like you're in something that makes you want to feel like you're back to where it belongs. The 80 Series Land Cruiser belongs to everyone. It's not just a family truck, it's a legend, it's a myth, it's a story that never changed its title, it never changes its looks, it never changes life, it changes everyone's lives the way how it looks. From its 1HZ inline 6 power plant to the feeling of 1980s simplicity and luxury, the 80 series Land Cruiser is the perfect destination vehicle to use and get used to almost everyday life. The 80 series Land Cruiser didn't just become a truck. It's more than just a family wagon that your dad drives you around on vacations, camping trips. The 80 series Land Cruiser was a survivor. It didn't just dominate an era, it dominated a whole decade. Imagine that. 39 to almost 46 years with the 80 series Land Cruiser with just about of good mileage, good repairs, good tools, a good feeling about owning one. That's not just proof, it's a sign of respect. The 80 series Land Cruiser gained respect from its newer owners after being used up by the previous owner to the next. I became the new owner of the 80 series Land Cruiser for 5 years and now I respect it. The 80 series Land Cruiser was definitely the most beloved Land Cruiser. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you guys go comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time.